Okay, so let's start that over again. We have a different system going on today. Apologize for that.
No sound. Mics are ice.
Mics are ice.
But it looks like it's working now.
Yeah, it's working now.
We're good.
I had it turned off so nobody would be able to hear the mics. So we are live at the South Carolina Libertarian Convention here in beautiful Greenville, South Carolina. It's been a wonderful event put on by Kelsey Lyon. She has done a fantastic job with this entire thing.
I think it's a good time to plug KelseyLyonDesigns.com.
KelseyLyonDesigns.com. If you need any design work done, go to KelseyLyonDesigns.com. I, as you know, am Matt Wright. I am here live with Mr. America, the Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon, and the Cajun Libertarian right over here. Right to my right, we have Spike Cohen, who is currently in the midst of conversation, which if you know Spike, that is...
It's going to run on forever.
Yeah, that's pretty par for the course. So we are live, and in just about an hour or so, we are going to have Spike Cohen giving a speech here at the convention, and we will be showing you that as it occurs.
It's been amazing today. So something that, conventions are always boring, the business side especially.
Yes.
And it's amazing when you can have a libertarian like Spike Cohen who's able to keep everybody laughing the entire time, be on point, be able to change up things. And I think that's something that potentially going to be talking about, some of the changes that we're going to be seeing from the South Carolina Libertarian Party, from our platform and what we're pushing through, to encourage you guys that if you guys are involved in your state's party, to look at those things as your conventions are coming up, if you guys haven't had yours already, or to talk with your libertarians, your fellow libertarians in the area, to see about making those positive impacts as... we're having some kava issues.
We are having some
This is the Muddy Waters kava issues that are pretty...
if we don't have audio issues and we only have kava issues, I'm actually okay with it.
It's a big success.
Yeah.
I thought that was limited. Oh, jeez. So thankfully the tables may have gotten changed there, Blue Lake, but yeah. So we've got a lot of great libertarians here tonight. We do have Jo Jorgensen, the 2020. What is her title? What was she?
She is the most electrifying LP presidential candidate since Bob Barr.
Since Bob Barr.
We're back. I don't know what happened there. All right.
So we're good. So we've got a lot of good libertarians here. Some from national coming down, having a good time today. Some local guys here that have been making this a great circus, as you would expect from all libertarians.
Yes, absolutely. As it always is at the South Carolina Convention. 2 years ago, in 2019, Spike and I came up to the South Carolina Convention, and it was the first time that we met Jason in person, and we were supposed to host a debate.
The presidential
debate. If you don't remember seeing that episode, there's a reason why. But it was because of that a lot of the things that, a lot of the reason that Muddied Waters is what it is. Yeah,
it was the springboard for
so
Muddy
much.
Waters to become more solidified in the libertarian universe.
Exactly.
It may have potentially been the springboard to getting Spike Cohen on a VP nomination.
Could be.
And
Spike and I stayed in a house with Vermin Supreme that weekend. We shared an Airbnb with Vermin Supreme that weekend.
That must have been wild. I heard there was a hot dog story or something like that. Maybe.
No, that's a Matt Hicks thing.
Okay, that's a Matt Hicks thing?
That's a Matt Hicks thing.
Oh, jeez. Question from the comments. Is Stuart there? No, because we like libertarians here at this convention. But Matt is very deeply, you can tell Matt is very emotional. He's very sad that Stuart Flood is not here. He loves and adores that Stuart.
Do love that Stuart Flood. Do love that Stuart Flood. But as always, South Carolina puts on a great convention. Now, earlier today, there was a panel discussion on elections and social media.
Yeah. About good campaigning.
Yes, I was like, I don't remember what that thing was called.
Yeah,
I was kind of in and out.
It was campaign advice and well-roundedness.
Right.
Go ahead.
And your lovely bride, she spoke. And what was it that Kelsey was covering in that panel?
I'm staring somebody down right now, but Kelsey was talking about graphic designs and helping out branding and stuff like that, and so she was just really, I know. Kelsey was helping out with talking about branding for campaigns to be able to make to make it one resounding sound that's coming from these campaigns, because it's so incredibly important that when we talk as candidates or as libertarians, that we kind of have a resounding message that comes through. And so, you know, as you guys have tuned into the Monday night shows, right, I'm talking a lot about criminal justice reform. We come off the topic a little bit, but when we dive right back into it, and that's something that's my brand, right? That's what jives with me. And so when Kelsey's talking about that from a branding aspect.
Yes.
For when you run a campaign, you want to hit those topics, you want to be known for those topics, and you want your images, your logos, and everything else to resound through that.
Exactly. And then Brian Scott Lambrecht, the hardest working person in the Libertarian Party. I'm not sugarcoating that one for anybody else. Brian Scott Lambrecht is the hardest working person in the Libertarian Party.
Yes.
He spoke about messaging and the proper way to get candidates noticed and get them out there.
And media.
Right.
And I think that he was talking about that on your show before. And
he's big on that.
Yeah.
He's big time on messaging. He's big time on being professional. One of the things he harps on a lot is how a lot of us, we like to take things into our own hands, especially like photography and graphics and things of that nature. Didn't turn my mic on? Nope. So we're on now. What up, folks? Cave Libertarian here. Nice to meet you. Muddy Waters Media. Back to Brian Scott Lambrecht. Yeah, that dude's the hardest working libertarian I've ever met, but he's big on making sure if we're going to run for office, we need to be able to compare to the people that are dumping the money into it that we don't have. So we need to find every avenue we can to get professional photography done, professional graphics done, all the help that we can to look the part.
Right, exactly.
And if you guys missed what he was talking about today, there is so much vital stuff. If you guys are working with the campaign, if you guys are running a campaign, go give him a listen today, because he was talking about ways of getting on. If you can't get on the debate stage, which of course is one of those barriers for all of us libertarians, if you can't get on the debate stage, you can still get in front of all those same companies. And he was talking about a specific story today of getting a 30-minute one-on-one with the candidate that he was pushing in this area. Couldn't get him on the debate stage not because of the company, but a decision made outside of that. But being able to still get that viability, get that visibility, get that reach through those media companies. So if you guys are a part of that, you guys got to go back and watch that workshop today. Just phenomenal.
Yeah, it was an incredible workshop. My lovely significant other, superfan Sarah Anderegg, she spoke on it about.
Getting in trouble.
Good old Sarah Anderegg.
Her last name is not Anderson. And that's a joke for our subscribers. But she spoke on social media marketing and proper ways to do it and how to get the most out of everything that you do. All in all, it was a fantastic panel. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, we apologize. The audio isn't the greatest. We have fixed that since then. I know you're probably sitting there going, "You liars, we're watching your show right now." But no, trust me, it's going to sound so much better when when Spike is up there speaking. For sure. But if you check out what was being said by Kelsey, by Sarah, by Spike, by Brian, it was a wonderful panel all on messaging and the proper way to message campaigns, how to get them out there, and what we can do as individuals to ensure more libertarians are winning.
And I think like the big thing coming from today was what the South Carolina Libertarian Party is doing is they're kind of following the steps of what Pennsylvania was doing without knowing that Pennsylvania was already taking those steps. And so the big news, of course, that broke that we've already covered on Muddy Waters Media through a couple of the shows was that we had over 100 libertarians elected in Pennsylvania, and that was because they had basically a basic formation of online content, of logos, of branding, of all these things. And so as a state chapter, that's what's so important, is to be able to give your candidates basically the groundwork and say, look, we can build from here, rather than starting from ground zero and just saying, figure it out yourself. That's one of the most daunting things. And so South Carolina is starting to do this, so if you guys are in a different state chapter, you guys got to look at what Pennsylvania did, see how you guys can implement those same ideas, and follow right along with South Carolina, and we can kind of fulfill a little bit what Spike Cohen was talking about today, of getting 1,000 libertarians elected. And the best Cohen just walked in the room.
Right.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
I get it. Now,
so that's something that I've been harping on a lot lately. So there's things in people, in demographics we may not specifically
go on,
like.
hold that closer.
What happened?
Hold it closer.
Oh, closer?
Yeah.
So I like politics is a lot like everything else, where it's a copycat league. You may not like the person that's doing a thing or a group that is doing X, but if they're doing it well, then spending energy that's hating on it doesn't help anyone. What we should be doing is finding out what is making their success tick and copy that everywhere.
Right.
Even if you don't like the people, that's irrelevant. Let's win.
Exactly. One of the things that I learned in my time in working in real estate was you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
What you want to do is you want to, I believe that what they call plagiarism in business is borrowing brilliance. But what you want to do is you want to find out what works and you want to copy it. You want to copy it. If you can figure out ways to improve it a little bit, do it. But you don't want to try to start from scratch and rebuild from the bottom. You want to take what works, improve on the areas where you can, and just come up with a system that is going to help get you and other libertarians in your area elected. And that was what that panel was all about today, and it was wonderful.
It was amazing. I was energized and invigorated. And for libertarians to do that to other libertarians, like that's a rare feat. We bore ourselves, and so that's why we fail so much.
Right,
in so
exactly.
many ways. If we fail on things we agree with, we're not changing people's minds. But the workshop today is a way to help change the culture, change our society, and get people elected to further that change.
Absolutely. Let's. I wasn't in the business meeting.
So I was struggling through the business meeting today, so I will give you guys the nice big fat recap. So what we did, for the most part, was we were just basically changing, of course, the platform and the other thing.
Yes.
Yes.
The other thing.
The other thing. Nope, not
Nailed
going to
it.
remember that one.
Okay.
So I'll figure that one out as we go along. But when we were talking about this, the thing that we were looking at is that culturally within the Libertarian Party, we've always had this fight between minarchy and anarchy, and that struggle between. And for a lot of the changes that we made to the platform today were to basically find that middle ground that is acceptable or specifically tolerable for minarchists and anarchists to be able to accept. And so
the Dallas Accords of
yeah.
the Dallas Accords of South Carolina.
Yeah, so
Call them the Greenville Accords of 2021.
Yeah, so specifically we were looking at, like, for one thing, and this one really blew my mind of how much support this got, but it was looking at our platform for the SCLP. We had legitimate government, right? What a legitimate government would do. And what we wanted to do, and what the amendment was that was accepted, was instead of calling it the legitimate government, was the tolerable government. So a tolerable government works in this way. And so this way, for a minarchist, right, they're like, I like small government. I want a little small government. I can't say that personally, but, for a minarchist, they say, well, a government that I would tolerate, a small government, would be able to protect the rights of people and this, that, and the other. But an anarchist says, look, if we have to have a government, I would tolerate it if it only protected the rights of people.
Right.
And so it's a way to, instead of saying that government is legitimate, it's a way of saying, look, there are anarchists out here that don't think the government's legitimate, but we want to give them a say in this. And so we were able to find that unity, and this was a big thing, right? So we have the unity of fighting between left libertarians and right libertarians, and of course the important adjective in that is libertarian.
Right.
So we need to find a unifier in that, but then it was also the unifier between big government statist and anarchist. I mean, minarchist and anarchist. But
I mean, you say potato, I say fuck you. It's the same thing.
But it was a good way of having that unifying message for both sides. And so we looked at a lot of the different platforms. And of course, it's boring and we're playing semantics with a lot of things. But at the end of the day, we have a platform that's going to resonate more with libertarians. And I think that's what's incredibly important.
Yeah. Right. Now, I have to ask, because I wish I had been in the room for it if it did happen. Did the All NODA happen?
No. So our nominating will be in next year, early next year, and we will have a candidate that is going to be universally noted because. And I was ready to give a speech on it today, and I didn't look at the itinerary beforehand to know that I didn't need to waste the brain power. But basically, a situation that we have is, as many people know, President Trump was impeached his last year in office.
Yes.
And when he was impeached, one of those Republicans...
in his last days.
Yeah, in his last days. One of those representatives that voted to impeach was Rex Rice here in South Carolina.
Correct.
And he has received a lot of hatred from Republicans for that. And so his seat is up for grabs right now. And so we have somebody who's running under the Libertarian Party or attempting to run for the Libertarian nomination. He's just merely a Republican who disagrees with some of the Republican people. He's been ousted by them, and so he says, "Well, if I can't be a Republican, I might as well run for the Libertarian Party." Just an advocate of the war on drugs, an advocate of maintaining sex works being illegal, an advocate for the war on tariffs and a fight on foreign trade. So this guy is just well-rounded in the ways of being anti-libertarian, and he's running for it. So we are actually going to be utilizing that powerful, important thing of NODA, of none of the above against this dude, and we are going to watch him, because we have sore loser laws here in the state. We're going to watch him not be able to run for that, because the Libertarian Party stands for something, and that's what we're all about.
Right.
We have a lesser Cohen stepping in.
Well, the greater Cohen's
on here. Hey, everybody. I'm Spike.
Hey, everybody.
I live in Oregon.
Ladies and gentlemen, Spike Cohen has joined the party.
Come sit with me. Hey, everybody.
Look at this. Look, isn't this a beautiful crew?
This is
something never before seen, actually.
This is the
That's a screenshot right there.
right there.
the Muddied Waters
Everybody
Media
screenshot
Diversity
your
Power Hour.
phones right now.
I need somebody. If I could get somebody to take a
Oh
picture.
wait, we've got superfan Sarah Andrea coming in.
Yes.
Superfan Sarah
No,
Andrea.
you're good. You're coming.
We wish that Nulik was
Oh
able.
man, if Nala could be here.
Okay,
Can we
thank you.
Photoshop Nulik's
Right in between us.
that smiley face emoji?
Oh yeah,
that she
her
uses?
thing. Yeah.
In between us.
We
Yeah,
absolutely
the
can do
avatar
this.
Just like
seasons,
you
yeah.
at
That I wasn't invited to.
that you weren't invited
How
to.
did the anniversary party go?
You weren't invited to that either.
I know. How'd it go?
I don't know. I was here.
Oh, are you talking about
Oh,
Shane
sorry,
Sweeney's
yeah.
anniversary
Oh, that's
party?
important, Yeah. And I wasn't invited
Hey,
to.
you were there at the business meeting today. How
Yes.
did what were your big takeaways from today?
Well, I won everything I wanted, basically.
Basically,
Yes, and that was good.
we had to table the one thing, but we'll bring that back and we'll get that through.
We had a winning team. Yeah, we had to table that. Honestly, it could have been written better.
Yeah.
We'll figure out a better way to write it.
I think I've got some wording. We'll talk about that off the line.
I'm gonna say, and if you don't vote for it this time, then you got trouble with me. That's how I'm going to word it.
I like it.
To scare people.
A little
I wanna scare
coercion.
Yeah,
Little coercion,
like a little
I like
fear.
it.
It's not coercion. You just decide. Do you want to fear me for the rest of your life, or what?
Yeah,
what's that?
because
That's a decision for you to make.
Not an implied threat there. That you're going to bring
No,
mobs of
God,
people,
no, I would
mobs
never.
Of your cultists.
Never,
Coming
ever.
after and-
You're saying these things. So we, that's not. So that went well, and
It was fantastic.
I also liked that it was 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
And everyone was mad. It went over by a half hour. And I've been to a lot of conventions, folks, and that was pretty impressive.
I will say, so obviously, as I've said, I was not at the business meeting.
Yes.
I walked in at like 3:30 to
Yep.
find out what time it was going to end. And I saw that on the schedule it said 4 o'clock, and I said, okay, so 5. And everybody was out at like 4:15, and I was like, okay, hey,
Yeah.
way to go, South Carolina.
Yeah, so one thing went over by 15 minutes, but then we pretty much got all that back.
What was the thing before we talked about the platform? I'm forgetting the word. It was another
Rules.
keyword. Rules. There we go.
That
Rules and platform.
It's weird that a libertarian forgot the word rules.
rules could have been
They
done.
don't apply to me.
They don't apply to any
Rules
of
could
us.
have been done a little bit more. Mistakes were made. It could have been done gooder.
Yeah, much good.
But what we learned from rules were applied to platform, and it made it go by pretty well.
yeah, we streamlined the hell out of that. It was beautiful.
That was good. It was good.
And
We adapted
like,
and overcame.
I'm not saying this just because he was here, but like when Spike Cohen was like proposing his amendments, you could see people like start off and they would like read it and they'd be like, no. And then he'd like say it and he'd be like, yes.
Yes.
It was
So what I'm hearing is, as long as it's coming out of that mouth, verbally, people are like, yes. But
I'm
when they're
pretty sure
reading it, they're like, no.
Yeah, no, that's what happened. So I wrote it down, and people were looking, and they're like, this is the dumbest garbage I've ever seen in my life. And I'd say, I support this, friends. And they go, oh, this is the best. This is the next.
Jessico's got his amendment because you were like, that's not mine, but I support it.
Yes.
And it was like, unanimous.
I spoke in favor of it. I was politicking.
It was good.
So we politicked.
We politicked.
That
So
was
you,
fun.
so you don't want Spike to come after you, but you want Spike to go for you.
Yes. That's the implied. It's not coercion or fear. You said that. It's, hey, do you want for the rest of your life for me not to support you in anything you do?
Trust
I
me,
can
it
do
sucks.
that.
It sucks.
It's terrible. No, you're right. No, it's terrible the fact that I don't support anything you do, and that's.
I asked for
Tell
an
them what your
autograph.
life's like because of that.
I asked him for an autograph earlier, and he like took a piece of garbage and threw it at me. He said,
Yep.
That's all I can give you."
Yep.
And it was a beautiful
I
piece of garbage.
signed it at least.
Yeah, you did.
I did. I
You,
signed it.
you signed the
I
garbage?
signed the garbage.
Oh,
I said,
that-
this is garbage for garbage. Love Spike.
That was very Muddied Waters Media of you, right?
Yes.
I don't have what you want, but I'm going to make this work as best as I can in this moment.
Yes. So, adapt, improvise, overcome. That's what they teach in. What's that? Sure. Bear Grylls teaches that.
Or in Spike Cohen 101 classes.
Thankfully, yes. Well, thankfully, no one had to drink urine.
Yeah,
Thank God.
yeah.
I don't know that no one did. No one had time.
Matt Hicks did leave for a
no
little
one
bit.
had to.
Matt Hicks left for a little bit.
It's a personal choice, but no one had to.
Yeah, no.
Right, nothing was being forced.
If someone did, then that's really none of my business.
Yeah.
I just don't want to kiss them because they got pee-pee breath.
They would have the.
They would have pee-pee breath.
The pee-pee breath is not recommended for kissing.
They'd have pee-pee breath. So, folks, I'm going to be giving a speech
In roughly
basically
40
recapping
minutes.
what we just said, especially pee-pee breath. And
If you bring up PP breath, can you introduce the most electrifying libertarian presidential candidate since Bob Barr?
I'm not allowed to. So there's always got to be a gap between us.
Can you mention that the most electrifying libertarian presidential candidate since Bob Barr is coming up after you at some point with PP breath?
Stick around, guys, because
Stick around,
later
man.
on
We have
we're
the
gonna-
most electrifying candidate since Bob Barr. Wayne Allen Root is speaking next. I think. If that, oh no.
Yeah.
It's,
Isn't he on Gateway Pundit now?
what's that?
Isn't he on Gateway
Yeah,
Pundit
no,
now?
he's.
Or
he is.
Breitbart
But
or something?
In his defense, if you asked him what he thought about sex work, he'd tell you.
I don't want to talk about that. Can we talk about
The income tax? Yeah, no, let's do that.
That's South Carolina. We're here in South Carolina where you don't answer questions and just say, I don't care about that.
I feel like we should.
I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the income tax.
I feel like we should have followed it up and been like, how much should sex workers pay in income tax?
I would say 0.
And then
I would talk
agree
about
with 0.
Zero.
Okay, I would
say
like to
zero.
talk
pose that
about
to her and
income
see
tax
what her
for
answer would be.
everyone but sex workers.
Why do you hate everyone else?
No, I want to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
I don't want it.
Okay,
I
all
want
right.
to talk about it. But I don't want to talk about sex work.
I don't know exactly.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
I'm not going to. And not only do I not want to, I'm not going
not
to
going
talk
to.
about that.
I'm just not going to do it.
I'm not talking about it.
Even if I'm on
I'll never
CNN.
talk about that.
Even if on CNN and they ask me that question at a town hall. No.
I'm going to open my CNN town hall by saying, first of all, I would just like everyone here to know that I don't want to talk about sex
I don't
work.
talk about sex work. I
Okay.
do not talk about sex
So
work.
write that down. Before you ask me your questions,
Which are
if
probably
I'm
all gonna
asked
be
a
sex
question
work.
about sex work, I'm not going to answer it. And I'm instead going to talk
Oh, hang
about
on,
the income
the-
tax.
The lovely
No,
Kelsey,
just
the
everyone
lovely
but
Matt
them.
Hicks is about to make an announcement.
Oh, here we go.
I need all of you to shut up your suckholes.
What?
Say, and you're not allowed to say it, so shut up.
Hashtag laser legend.
Laser Legend. That was. So we're getting started. I'll be up there shortly.
So I know everyone's starving and you did not come here just for salad. So we're going to go ahead and ask our VIP tables. So yes, there's tons more food and dessert. And you get to eat first. So all of my VIP tables, so the table with
Here
Mr.
we
Steve
have the lovely
Daspa, Joe
Kelsey
Jorgensen's
Lyon.
table, Spike Cohen's table,
She
and the
is
lovely Thornton table. If you guys can please go get your
directing
food,
people
that would be amazing. I
how
will
to
announce
get
everyone
food.
to go up after that, so please hold your seats.
Okay, so now that the announcement's on food, we are going to be switching back to your regularly scheduled program. And so, yeah, woohoo, almost lost that. So, yeah, what we know, and is very important, is that the audio works on that microphone.
Works so goodly.
It does. That sounded great in the ear holes.
Right in the ear.
Great in the ear holes. So, wonderful event so far. Everybody is dressed, well, you know, almost everybody's
I
dressed
like
up.
how we're tiered, right?
We are.
You got the sports jacket. I'm lacking.
This is full suit, buddy. No
No.
sports jacket. Come on.
I was talking about what the viewers can see.
Fair.
So
Wearing a t-shirt.
sports jacket down to a nice little.
You're
button up.
advertising.
And then we
Right,
got
he's advertising.
We got the big pimping of the Muddy Water swag.
Tracksuit with the Converse, baby.
But yes, we have we have the tiered system in hosts tonight, in so many different ways. Evolutionarily. Best to worst dress. Longevity.
No, I'm the youngest.
He was talking about you.
I was talking about time on podcasting.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Wait, I thought we started about the same time. No,
I started in 16.
I started in 16.
When did you start?
September.
You've been doing it longer.
I'm still
You
trying
took
to
a
figure
year
out.
off.
There we go.
I'm
I was
just still
doing- I
trying
was
to figure out
doing
what a
massively-
podcast is.
Yeah, I was doing massively long shows when I first started off. I was doing like 3-4 hours.
What's that like?
Discussion. It was terrible.
Yeah, I know.
Because it was on Periscope, and so like the culture there was like people would come in and they would just like challenge you and debate you and everything else. It was like more
Right.
like doing clickbait, and so you would just have like these long-winded conversations with people about different stuff. And so I'd go 3-4 hours on a night, and I was doing that like 4 or 5 times a week, and you know I was incredibly blessed for that. And then so taking a year off, maybe we're about the same.
Right. We are. We are roughly the same now. But yeah, but yeah, no. So far, event is beautiful. My lovely significant other is looking gorgeous as always, as is yours. As is yours.
Mine is looking fantastic at home eating sushi without me.
I was gonna say I saw your wife earlier today, but I haven't seen her here yet today. But I'm certain that she is also
Stunning.
Stunning.
It's amazing. Like, these events just take our beautiful, amazing, gorgeous wives and kick it up a notch.
Kick it up. Just kicks it up just a few. And it's unbelievable. Like, it shocks me because I wake up next to Sarah every day, and I wake up and I go, "This is what you look like in the morning."
Yeah. When you know you got a good one.
Yeah, I'm winning. I
She is
am
visibly concerned
winning
right now. I can see her right across the room. She's visibly concerned.
To Tia Marie, I don't know. No, I don't know.
He's not the scheduling kind.
I don't plan things.
I told you there was visible concern across the room.
Well, yeah.
This is enjoyable. I'm
bet.
loving this. But it's an absolutely incredible event for me. Just like beyond just people coming out and wanting to show off and look nice and look spiffy and showing off their spouses, which is what every one of us who are in the disproportionately attractive wives caucus, I think.
Right.
Yeah. But it's also like a good showing because you've got some iron sharpening iron here tonight too, through just the networking and the discussions. 'Cause
Absolutely.
I've seen some people talking about the policies and everything else, and that's I'm the nerd. I'm loving watching people just get their ideas beaten to a pulp, and just like a mob mentality.
Exactly right. And anytime that I come to an event like this, and I've been to numerous conventions all across the country, the discussion that happens in between different factions of libertarians, because I don't know if anybody knows this, libertarians don't get along. They don't agree online, is a better way to put this.
Libertarians ruin libertarianism.
Right. And it's not that libertarians don't get along. They do. They just don't agree online, and that's where they start to fight. But when you get them in a room and they can actually sit down, break bread, grab a drink together, and talk about issues, they will find out they have more common ground than what they will say online. Because when you're online, you're sitting there and you're going, oh, yeah, fuck you, statist. Because, it's just, my fingers do it automatically.
Because you're a minarchist.
Right. Minarchist,
But I think
socialist, the same thing.
I think that's a good point that when we talk about it like on Facebook and on Twitter, right? There's so much toxicity there because you can't put your tone of voice into things.
right.
You can't sense the sarcasm as well.
Exactly.
But that's why it's so good, and you got me plugged into it, and I know you've been a frequent flyer through it. I think we've all been dropping off, but we got to get back into it. Is Clubhouse. Being able to talk and being able to share our voices, being able to use our it humanizes us in such a way that we can have that common ground and we can break that bread with people we disagree upon. And I've enjoyed every one of those conversations. Not every one of those. I've enjoyed a lot of those conversations with people as we do find those common grounds with those who
It is warm in here. I gotta take this jacket off. all of these libertarians.
Look at this. He's trying to step down to my level, and he was trying to say he was the most well-dressed. I'm just saying, right? I was just the most prepared for this, and now Florida boy's getting hot. He can't handle the cold of
I am
of
also
South
ready to
Carolina.
go outside.
Yes, me too. He wants to take me out back and beat me up.
That's right. He's gonna use that tie. Right, and Clubhouse is fantastic for that. It's one of the greatest things about Clubhouse is you can hear the person's voice, and you can typically pick out sarcasm on Clubhouse, unlike on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or anything like that.
Yeah.
My thing with Clubhouse is the issue I have with Clubhouse is the same issue that I have with Facebook and with Twitter and with anywhere else. Is we all joined, and then we all got into the same rooms.
Yep.
And we have the same friends that we had on Facebook and that we had on Instagram and that we have on Twitter, and we are still in the same echo chamber that we have been in this entire time. Now we're just talking about it in the circles. So we may be reaching other libertarians and saying, okay, well, let's talk about your views on property ownership versus my views of property ownership, and trying to bridge that divide. But you're not reaching outside of the party.
Yeah, we left the Facebook bubble to go to our Clubhouse bubble,
right?
And we're not breaking out. And
exactly.
That's one of the biggest things. Yeah.
Right. And Jimmy Lee, you do go outside the echo chamber. I will say that Jimmy Lee in the comments here, he's on Clubhouse a lot.
Yeah.
Often. And he does. Like, I know there are people that do, but many of the people that I see on there, they're constantly just using the same rooms, the same clubs.
Yeah, same clubhouses.
Sure. They're using the same areas to discuss with the same people, and they aren't reaching out, trying to network with people outside the party as much.
Yeah.
And that was what I noticed about it, and I fell victim to it, which is why I stopped using Clubhouse. Because if I wasn't going to use it to network and to push, why use it?
Yeah. We're pushing the same bubble over and over again. Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, your point of Jimmy Lee is one of those guys that was going out into other bubbles. He was going out into pushing limits. I've seen him in so many rooms where he's in a conservative group or in a liberal group or whatever kind of left-leaning group that it is.
He's going toe-to-toe.
And he's willing to face that mob, and that it's absolutely commendable. And you know, I wish that I took the time to go and sit down and do this, because there's ample opportunity there because of the way that Clubhouse works. It's a good way to sharpen up your own arguments and everything else. So it's hugely commendable on that, and that's one thing that I think that I'm grateful because I've met some representatives. There's a Democrat running in Georgia tomorrow, and I apologize for our last name, but being able to break out of that mold for ourselves and being able to have conversations with her, we found common ground. I found common ground with her on like vaccine mandates, on kind of the COVID response on a lot of things.
Right.
And so we're able to take those things and take those discussions when we break out of our own echo chamber and using Clubhouse as a much more effective means of helping guide people over to our side. Because, you know, as what we commonly say, we've got the right answers. It's just a matter of selling it to the right people.
It's just whether or not we're able to sell it to people. And when we're only... And again, one of my shortcomings on Clubhouse is that I was finding that I was only going to the same place. I wasn't able to sell it to other people because when I was going into Clubhouse, it would be on my way home from work, or, you know, if Sarah happened to be, you know, not home at night. So I would go into it to talk to my friends on Clubhouse. Yep. Like, I wasn't using it for outreach. And I continued relying just on Muddied Waters for the outreach, instead of helping push it on the other forums.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, that might be a production thing for us now, is we share it to our own... Of course, we're sharing Mighty Waters streams to our own groups.
Right.
And we're sharing it to our own caucuses that we're a part of.
Yes.
But where are we sharing our content? Where could you guys be sharing our content to places where we may have an alignment with some people? How do we ourselves share it to those areas where, you know, I've got groups for criminal justice reform, I've got groups that are Democratic, I've got groups that are Republican that are talking about this. Am I doing a good job of sharing this to those groups? Of course not. I could always be doing better, and we should be. But it's also, like, where you guys, the audience, you guys love us, and you guys have been sharing out our content. You guys have been huge supporters and going over to anchor.fm/moneywater/ subscribe and being a huge part of this. But
that's right.
You know, if you guys are interested in breaking that mold for other people, if you guys feel so, go ahead and share it out to those other groups.
Right. And part of the thing about spreading liberty, which is what we're doing here in South Carolina. Yet, business meetings, if you haven't been to a libertarian convention, business meetings are boring AF, as the kids say. Boring AF, as the kids say today. They are not exciting, but this is the vegetables. Like, you don't get the dessert until you eat the vegetables. And unfortunately, these things are the vegetables, because you have to make sure that your marketing or not your marketing. Well, yeah, your marketing works too, but that your messaging, that what it is that your state affiliate is pushing is in line with what you as a libertarian believes, and this is where you can make the difference. Is here. This is where you can make the arguments. Is here, and you can get your state on board. This is the vegetables. It's the part that's not the greatest thing in the world, and you may not enjoy doing it, but this is where you are going to get the most amount of vitamins for liberty.
Yes.
And then you get to have the enjoyment of the dessert, of having the fun, getting to be at the gala that we are currently at, waiting for Spike and the most electrifying libertarian presidential candidate since Bob Barr to speak at. And then we're going to have a chance to hang out afterwards, and we're going to mingle, and we're going to go out and have a lot of fun. 23 minutes, I think. But we are going to... Okay. Jason had to take a call, so he will be back. But this is where it really matters. And another... Oh, you're good. And then another thing that you can do is you can share, please share anything of ours ever to groups of all colors. Don't just, we share them in libertarian groups because we want people in the libertarian movement to see us, to know about us, and for them to be able to share our content to their friends and their families. But, share it out to everywhere so people can learn this message. And the more people that hear this message, the more people are going to be able to, come into the party and be able to help spread this word. Cajun has been promoted.
You mean demoted. You spelled that wrong.
Jason demoted to seat 3.
I think it's just because I wanted to tear it the other way.
Right.
So the best dress is down on this end.
Well, no, it's best beard to worst beard.
I mean, that is true. That is definitely true. I've got a picture that says otherwise. But it's best dressed now because you took your sports jacket off, so now Muddy Waters is a little bit better dressed than that.
I'm most envious dressed because, of course, they would rather dress in comfortable pants and a T-shirt and Converse than what they're wearing, even though they do look very dapper.
No, like is the Eskimo Libertarian is saying the best dressed is in Alaska.
Ooh.
I'm not going to say she's wrong.
No, like 3 fur coats going on there.
Three. It's 2:40 in Alaska right now. It's been dark for 3 hours, and
I don't know if the sun has risen yet.
I'm not really sure how it works right now over there.
It's going to be so cold next week, they're going to have to cut open buffalo with lightsabers and cuddle up with them.
That's it. Liberty Claus has a good point. Now your guy on far right.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm just changing ideology.
Right. Yeah, you went from comedy
off the episode all
the way over here. You're gonna be in my seat, and I'm gonna be over there.
We're just gonna play musical chairs while we do this.
Right.
Oh, they got a foot of snow in Alaska.
Lord.
So if anybody out there is watching, have any questions for me, Cajun, Jason, I might be able to get Spike back. I could throw something and hit him really easily.
We got buttons to throw at him.
Throw one of mine.
Ping.
They're harder.
True, they are. Those things are dense. We also have a ton of swag here. If you are watching, we've got our stickers. We've got our patches. We've got the Spike Cohen bracelets. We've got the Waffle House Caucus buttons.
I forgot to wear my swag today. I was totally gonna rock the swag, and I got the band on.
Well,
You mean this one?
this one.
Oh, I meant the buttons.
So if anybody is watching this stream, if you go, now remember, if you join and you sign up at anchor.fm/muddiedwaters/subscribe, you get 10% off at muddiedwatersmedia.com/store all day, every day, forever. But for this weekend only, until midnight tomorrow, if you go to our store and use the coupon code SCLP Convention, you get 10% off until midnight tomorrow night. So SCLP Convention. I'm not going to put that in the chat, so you're going to have to remember it. SCLP Convention.
All one word?
All one word. I think it's all caps too, so try it both ways. Try it both ways.
Watch the book convention at SCLP.
No, I know that I did SCLP convention, but I don't remember if it's all caps. SCLP convention. It's all caps. I'm not sure if it's case sensitive. If you have any questions for the three of us, if you have any questions for Spike, the takeover team is also here with Sarah and Kelsey. If you have questions for
I
them,
thought you were talking about like the takeover.
no,
I was like, man, they're here. Like all,
not.
all couple of them.
I'm certain Mises is here, but
Yeah, we got Mrs.
got
Cox
some
here.
Mises people
It
here.
was, that was also one
So-
of the. Go ahead.
So I have to ask you guys, since we brought up Mises, which brings up Dave Smith just automatically. Right now, I would say that the lead contenders for the presidential candidate in 2024 is going to be Dave Smith, Justin Amash, and obviously Spike Cohen. Right? Obviously Spike Cohen.
Clearly.
Right. So, out of Dave Smith, Justin Amash, and Spike Cohen, who do you think has the best chance of landing that nomination? Or who do you think will land that nomination? I'm not sold on Spike running. I'm not going to say he's not going to run because I have no clue.
Yeah.
But I'm not sold on him doing it.
We don't know what the future holds when it comes to Spike and running, but I think when it comes to those three,
Right.
there's only one of those candidates that's going around the country right now, going to all of the conventions. He's the only one that's getting relatable to all of these delegates. And I think that at the end of the day, that's what's going to be most important. So when Spike comes out to these conventions, like he did today for the SCLP, and he was actually worried about what the state party is doing, getting engaged on the party, I think that that's going to really leave an impact for a lot of these delegates. And so I think that when it comes to voting for a presidential nominee, that's going to be a big weight pulling in favor of Spike on that specific issue. And I think
I don't know that there is a shoe-in.
I don't think there's a shoe-in. That's what, who do you think is kind of in the lead?
I'd have to say Spike because he is the only one that's going around creating relationships, really, is what you're talking about. You're making relationships. And if there was a shoe-in, I'd have to say it was Spike.
So yeah, Spike is, I do agree. I think that he, as Liberty Clause says, it's Spike's to lose. It's Spike's to lose. And I think Dave Smith, he's gonna have a strong following behind him. He's gonna have a strong groundswell and a big base that's gonna be supporting him all the way through up until they no longer can.
Yeah.
So that's gonna help push him through to the later rounds in the voting.
Yeah.
Justin Amash, whether you like Justin Amash, hate Justin Amash, have no feeling on Justin Amash, I still think he has greater name recognition across all libertarians.
Yes.
So that is going to be what helps him. So again, it's all three of theirs, and it would depend on how they do in debates and what happens in those final days right before convention. And that's in Vegas, right? Is that in Vegas?
I believe so. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that one of the things that's also very important is who these candidates, who these three guys really pull their base from, right? Where is their support? So knowing Dave Smith is an anarchist, right? Knowing that he's a part of the Mises Caucus, he's going to be pulling from the Mises Caucus. That's going to be a large part of his base. You've got Justin Amash, who is a minarchist, who's able to grab from the pragmatics. He's able to grab from the classical liberals. He's able to grab from the bigger side of the libertarian spectrum, and so that's going to be a big base for him. I mean, Spike Cohen, because of his run in 2020 as VP, of absolutely coming in and taking the entire country by storm. Within the libertarian circles, I mean, people went from not knowing who Spike Cohen was to saying, "I'm on board with Spike Cohen."
The stats on our show prove it.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who Spike Cohen was.
And this was so he's not just pulling from anarchists, right? He's pulling from minarchists.
That's true.
And so this is where it's going to be really, really incredible to watch. Is once we get to those debates, once we get to those three, if those three are actually all running, how it unfolds. Because if Dave Smith goes out first, Justin Amash versus Spike Cohen. Spike is pulling from Justin Amash's base as well as pulling all of Dave Smith's plus everything
That's a
that
good
Spike
point.
Cohen's already pulling. If Justin Amash goes out first,
The Justin Amash people are going to go. A good portion of them.
so I think
will go for
him being
Spike.
able
That's true.
to pull so strongly from the entire spectrum is what's going to really solidify his chance. Should Spike
Right.
Cohen run, I think that he's got the number.
I would, I would have to agree with you. And if for whatever reason Spike went out first, or in the last minute decided, you know what, I don't want to do this and dropped, his support would almost be split. I
Yeah.
feel almost 50-50.
Yeah, exactly.
And that would make for a very tight, very
Now let's go with that question. Dave Smith, Justin Amash.
Amash.
So Spike Cohen doesn't run. Spike Cohen decides that he's going to run for every U.S. Senate seat, and he gets 100 seats. So he's dominating, and now we just need to figure out who's running for president.
Right.
We got Justin Amash and we got Dave Smith. How does that unfold?
So if it's Justin versus Dave, you're going to have the anti-Mises people going hard for Justin.
Yeah.
And you're going to have the Mises people and the people who don't have a feeling on it, potentially going for Dave. And just worried about Justin Amash's past as a Republican.
Yeah.
And Bob Barr, Gary Johnson, Bill Weld, we have a history of recycling Republicans, and it's one of the things that we have tried to get away from. We've been trying to for a baseball reference, you want that homegrown talent. You don't want to trade for the big stars. You want to get that homegrown talent in your farm team that goes up and becomes the huge star. Your Derek Jeters, your Dustin Pedroias, your Albert Pujols before he got traded to the Angels. You want that. So you're looking for somebody who has been in the party, who has been birthed in the party, who has grown with the party and made their name there. You're not looking to trade for the star. And a lot of people have that feeling about Justin. I think that Justin has some very principled stances on libertarianism. I think that Dave is a very principled libertarian. At this moment, I could not tell you which one of those two I would support, and it would really depend on how they did in the debates.
What's really funny is that there's a solid chance that all three of these guys will not run. A solid chance.
That's true.
That none of these three guys
I mean,
would even be an option. But the reason I'm talking about this is because we're talking about Justin Amash, and he's the one out of the three that has absolutely just disappeared. And so if you're gonna run, like, you may get a tweet from him every once a week, like that you see go viral.
I saw him go to conventions a while back, but I haven't really seen much.
The Michigan
I saw him in Florida. I saw him at the Florida convention, and I know he went to a couple after that. Dave Smith wasn't doing convention work, but he was doing different events.
Right.
Like he was staying out of the state conventions, I believe, but he was doing different events. But he recently had a baby.
Right. I know he's got a lot of family life.
He and his wife just had a baby, so I get why he hasn't been around recently.
Yeah, but I think that's also, when we look at Dave Smith has never been big about the party. And that's something that's going to weigh on the
That's
minds
also
of
going to
people
weigh
too,
on. That's true.
Right? And so with him not being big about the party, coming in and wanting to run for the highest nomination we could give, I think that's going to weigh on a lot of people's minds. But also going back to Justin Amash and him being elected before, he's got a lot of money that follows him. And so if we don't want to put him up for the presidential ticket, is there a viability there to put him in at the vice presidential to let him use his donors, use his connections to be able to help pave that way for the Libertarian candidate? Because I mean, every time we run a presidential candidate, we're struggling for money because we're not playing on a level playing field. We have to have money to be able to catch up to be on a level playing field, and then money to be able to dominate.
So that brings up another question. Of those three guys, would any of them take the VP slot?
It's a valid question because I feel like no.
I don't think so.
I would.
I don't think a single one of them would go, okay, let's just say pie in the sky, Spike runs and Spike wins. I don't see Smith or Amash saying we're gonna play second fiddle to him.
Exactly.
I don't see that.
I think Dave Smith would do better to accept that and to run.
I agree, but I
Will he
don't
be able to swallow his pride and run that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But I think for the viability point, for the point of them being able to vibe, because there is so many similarities, right? When we talk about the culture of libertarianism and the arguments that we have of minarchist versus anarchism, which is commonly one of the big arguments that we have, because people are like, well, I'm right, you're wrong. When you have somebody like Justin Amash, who is a minarchist, and you have Spike Cohen, who's a well-known anarchist, there's going to be a lot of things that they don't jive on. And if you can't get that messaging down, if you can't find those middle grounds and pragmatic steps in between, to where you can still sell the anarchist thing, but sounding palatable and digestible for everyone, it's not going to work well. But having somebody like Dave Smith who tries to sell that same message, that hard line of we don't need these rulers who've destroyed our lives for centuries now. We need to be able to have some freedom. There's a good opportunity there. Will he be able to bring as much money as Justin Amash? Of course not. But I think for messaging and for brand, for a lot of things that we're talking about today at the workshop, there's a lot more things that can jive there.
Right. And I just, Mohican Libertarian has in the comment, if their ego is bigger than the party, that is a problem. And I'm going to tell you why I disagree with that statement. There is not a single person that's going to run for president that doesn't have an ego bigger than the party. There's not a person running for president anywhere that doesn't have an ego bigger than their party. Because you have to have a huge ego to run for president.
So when Spike Cohen runs, remember this, guys. Matt Wright says he's got a huge ego.
He's got a, I'll say
He's
that.
got a huge.
I say that all day long, every day. Spike Cohen has a huge ego.
Yeah, no, he does.
Huge ego.
Spike Cohen from Morgan County.
Now, to bring up another question, let's say Dave, Justin, and Spike. Let's say none of them run. Is there anybody out there?
Repeat it.
Is there anybody out there that if Dave, Justin, and Spike don't run, is there another person out there that you could see running?
That's what I was struggling with back in 2020, right? Because when we looked at the field, there were people that were arguing and saying, well, this is the best person that we have from the field. And that's such a low bar thing, right? When we talk about like the Republicans, right? When we talk about like Donald Trump and Joe Biden, or Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, or Barack Obama and John McCain, like these are incredibly low value people, like low standards for them to be the best. And when we looked at the 2020 field, we really didn't have much there.
Right.
So you can basically wash out everyone except for Spike Cohen from 2020 field and say if they're running again, like they may be the best of the field, but there's so much lacking there for somebody running for that office.
Agreed.
I don't see another person being able to fill the shoes of, not notably, of the three of them.
No.
You'd basically be starting from the bottom up and trying to build a name if you go outside of those three.
Right. And if you tried to retread somebody like a Gary Johnson or a Bill Weld or something, you're going to be taking multiple steps backwards.
Yes.
You're going to be taking multiple steps backwards, and it would not be good for the party.
But I think it's important that when we look at some of these Republican and Democratic candidates, right, when they run for president and they get to pick their VP, they're looking to find either to fill the holes in their philosophy, or fill the holes in the groups of people that they can't connect well with, or find groups of people that they can really get that donor base for. And so I think when it comes to those candidates in 2024, right, we find the head runner, and then the VP pick has to go from that. And so I like the way that the Libertarian Party does select that, but I think that with the way that the delegates vote,
Right.
there is oftentimes a lot of ignorance as to what these specific roles are supposed to do when it comes to campaigning, right? We treat it just like the average American voter, and it's a popularity contest. And so when you have a popularity contest, you're like, well, I really like Spike Cohen, so Spike Cohen's the top of the ticket. Well, I really like Dave Smith, or I really like Justin Marshall, or I really like Joe Jordan. I really like somebody else. But the problem is that we don't look at how they are actually going to function on these campaign trails. We don't look at, somebody who, doesn't get on social media, or somebody who doesn't do interviews for long. Like somebody who doesn't have like a good track record of being able to reach, to do the outreach, to hit the algorithms, to be viral, to make waves in our in our culture. And so our delegation has to be better about that. So,
Agreed. Absolutely, yes.
And we got to find somebody who can fill the holes of Spike Cohen, should he get the nomination, or whoever it would be.
Right. And what we definitely want to avoid is we want to avoid anybody, any candidate, that, let's just say, wouldn't take an interview before 1 p.m.
Just randomly arbitrary numbers here.
Right. Or would take an interview that lasted more than 10 minutes.
Another arbitrary number not related to anybody specific.
No. Or wouldn't want it longer than 10 minutes because they're afraid of gotcha questions. It just, you don't want that. You want somebody that you know is going to be putting out the most all day, every day while campaigning. You want to make sure that whatever they are doing, you want to make sure, are we tangled? Are we tangled? Okay. We want to make sure that whoever we select as the candidate, they are going to be giving it their all and doing whatever they can to win, and not going for a raise at their teaching job or whatever.
Yeah,
arbitrary things that I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely you want to have somebody that's available. If you're not available to campaign, and for those of you in the audience, if you guys have never worked for a campaign, whether it's your dog catcher, you're running for city council, whatever it is, these are not things where you can really run a full-time job and do effectively, right? Because you want to be able to hit the airwaves, you want to hit the radio interviews, you want to hit those throughout the day.
Yep.
You want to hit at rush hour traffic. You want to hit as many years as you can. You want to go to all these public events throughout the week, right? You want to hit the Friday shows. You want to hit, during the work week, you want to hit the weekend events. You're looking at pumping out 60, 70, 80 hours a week when you're campaigning. And when you're running for president of the United States, guess what? 80 hours ain't enough.
Right. No, 80 hours is not enough, and 30 hours definitely isn't enough.
Are you saying that you need to start before 1 p.m.?
You're gonna need to start at 7 a.m. and you're gonna have to go till 10 p.m. Joe Biden is 180. Roughly. Let's see. He was in the Senate for 200 years, according to him. I think he said. So he's probably 280 at this point. He's been around.
Good for his age.
He does, yeah. For 280, he looks fantastic, and for 280, coherent. Super coherent for 280. But even he, they made fun of him toward the end of the campaign because he would call a lid on the campaign, which, for anybody who doesn't know, that means, we're not doing any more campaign stops today.
No more questions.
No more questions. We're going to go home and nap. He would call a lid toward the end of the campaign at 1 o'clock, at 2 o'clock. And people were kind of giving him crap about that. But early on, he was doing the 5 a.m. interviews. He was doing the 10 p.m. interviews. He was doing late night. He was all over the place for a while.
Yep.
Once the election got going, and it started getting into the later, that was when he started calling the lid. Now, I don't know if that was because he figured he was going to lose and he didn't want to do it, or he knew he was going to win and he was just coasting it. Right, just coasting it. Figured there's less chance for me to say something to make me lose, or I can't actually say anything to make me win. It worked. Whichever way that was, it worked. I mean, he won.
Looking at the Democratic Party, there's probably some gears in the background getting moved. Because we do know, from the 2016 election, right, Bernie Sanders got kind of the shaft a little bit. He got paid out, and so he was like, the person I've been railing against, we need to get behind her. And then 2020 comes around, and he's like, I'm going to come back again. And he's like, get behind Joe.
Yep.
So we know that there's some question of culpability there, but they're a private company. They get to do what they want to do. Because
It's like the Commission on Presidential Debates. They're a private company. They get to do what they want. Any arbitrary rule works because they're a private company.
but the real danger is libertarians.
Right? Yeah, can't have Spike on the debate stage with Kamala and Mike
And the fly.
and the Fly.
The
Kamala.
the fly
I keep saying Kamala. Kamala.
The fly got VIP seats, all right? And Spike couldn't even get on the stage.
How bad is it that in a debate with Kamala Harris and Mike Pence, the Fly was the headline maker? Like,
Yeah.
That's how boring
that
it was.
shows you how.
It was shit.
Right, I was going to say, yeah, like, for lack of.
The
No
debate
pun
was
is actually
shit.
intended, but yeah, the debate was shit. There were shitty candidates. A Fly landed on one of them, and the Fly got all of the headlines.
They had 2 debates in there, or they just have just the one?
They only had one.
Okay.
Yeah, they had one.
But
'Cause
I mean,
they
that was
did-
the only thing that stuck out for anyone on that. And then the presidential debates, I mean, that was...
A shit show, but it was funny.
The first presidential debate was the greatest dumpster fire I have ever seen
for sure.
outside of the Detroit Lions in a year.
Yeah.
In a year.
In a year.
Including this one.
Yes.
0-9, I think now.
Are they on them?
I hope so.
I thought they won one. I could be wrong. Mr. Dospa. Sure.
We figured we'd let people get the dessert first.
Okay.
And sit down before we speak.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. So, just so everybody knows, there's been a slight delay. I think Spike was scheduled to take the stage at 7:15, and it got pushed back 15 minutes because libertarians. So, even in South Carolina, where they are good on their time clock, as we discussed earlier, it's going to be about 15 minutes before he takes the stage. I'm going to apologize. The camera view isn't the greatest. If you want us to get better equipment, so that way when we do these events, you get Spike in 4K, go to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters/subscribe and we can afford better equipment to make these presentations better. Or if you're feeling real generous, PayPal us at Muddied Waters Media and just give us a lot of money and we will buy better equipment.
Yeah.
All of that.
The VHS is fine. Yeah, this is gonna be like you time traveled back to 1997 and you rented Spike's speech from Blockbuster.
It's actually, if you guys have ever watched the Monday show, it's going to be that video quality, all right?
Yes.
And it will still be 10 times more thrilling than any speech we heard from the most electric presidential candidate
Since Bob Barr. The most electrifying libertarian presidential candidate since Bob Barr.
That's right.
So we've got about 10 minutes left. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. What's going on? What's happening? If anybody has any questions, please throw them in the chat. We are here.
Do you see the walking vest? There's no legs there.
There is no legs. Well, actually, there's no front of the vest.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
But
it's only a back of a vest.
But if you haven't gotten food, you should probably give me some.
Oh, she got some.
She did.
She got some for me.
All right.
So if you have any questions, please feel free to.
I've been promoted again.
You've been promoted, yeah. You're now in second chair.
I can see chat again. So.
Right, you can see the chat. Mohican Libertarian, I don't know where your car is, so I wish you luck in finding it. The HDMI that was there, it got moved up. Kelsey, it got moved up to the.
Okay, great.
Yes. Sorry, we're getting everything ready for tonight. It's going to be a fantastic show. Spike Cohen always gives a riveting speech.
An energizing speech.
An energizing speech.
Because he's actually energizing.
He will get the base a jumping. He gets the base the Libertarian bass a thumping in 90s lingo for things.
Nobody wants that back. Nobody wants the... I want the 90s back. I don't want the lingo back. And some of the dress code can go away, too.
Listen, the 90s were the bomb.
.com.
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 .com. Speak.com. Yeah.
I feel like we need to pan the room and just show everybody what this place looks like.
Okay, we can show off. What's
As we just, I would just say, pick it up, yeah.
You're going to
You guys want to check out
everybody. This is the Muddied Waters hand cam.
the hand cam.
But yeah, so here we have a lovely turnout to the South Carolina delegation. Sorry about the shaky hand. This is 90s style. This is like singles.
This is that VHS quality, right? When your dad was chasing you around as you were like running
This is like
around.
Reality Bites with Winona Ryder, like where she did the video diaries.
Show him the floating vest, though.
Oh yeah, look at the floating vest over where. There's the floating vest.
Do you see that?
You see it?
got
Look,
arms,
he just
like,
arms and a vest and a head.
For those of you who can't see very well at home, because clearly you can't see it at all.
Right.
It just we got a forest hanging out
Sorry?
over by the bar.
Just so that everybody knows, this is the camera that I podcast with. Just saying.
This is the camera that Cajun is podcasting with every day.
Fully aware that it's terrible.
MTV quality when they had music videos. Talking about in the 90s, I mean, that was MTV. You know, they've been around for what, 40 years now or something like that?
1982. You know what the first video on?
Video killed the radio star?
That's right. Yeah, video killed the radio star, and MTV killed the video.
Yeah, and now MTV doesn't play music.
Right.
Because music TV doesn't make sense.
No, Karen Ann is not South Carolina, but she is here.
So Karen Ann actually will travel the country as when she was secretary. If you guys have been following that, she was removed at the LNC level, but Karen Ann will still go around the country to make sure that things are up to snuff. Applaud her for doing that, for having the concerns of making sure that things are up to snuff, because it is so incredibly difficult. This is one of the things that a lot of people don't realize for the Libertarian Party, why we have so many rules and why we have like the convention today, why we spend so much time talking about the rules, is because we want to make sure that we're staying up to snuff, because the Republicans, right, the Republicans and Democrats have been putting in so many laws and changing up the standards and the functioning of these parties, and we are held accountable to them. Being a third party, we're held accountable to these year in and year out. They're coming through and checking up on us. So it's important for us to have somebody coming through and auditing ourselves. And so that's one thing that we've seen from Karen Ann. And so, applause for that. But you got to fix the camera. But so it's important, because when we as a state party, if we do not actually follow through on all those laws and everything else, we get our party shut down. And if it's a state like South Carolina, if we have the Libertarian Party shut down, we don't get to reopen it as the Libertarian Party. We don't get to be part of the whole chapter. So we have to create a new name, and we have to figure out how we're going to get connected back to the Libertarian Party, should we want to. The Libertarian Party, of course, the national wants the states, and the states wants the national, because there is a little bit of transactional love going on between those two, and that's incredibly important. Meanwhile, the Republicans and Democrats, of course, don't actually have to follow all these election laws. They violate them all the time. They're not held up to this. So yes, Karen Ann Harlos is not a South Carolinian, but she's here, and I appreciate that endeavor of trying to help keep things up to snuff.
Right, and I see a lot of people saying that's the job of the executive committee, and yes, it is the job of the executive committee.
More eyes never hurts.
More eyes never hurts. And if you have somebody who knows the rules, it's best to have that person in the room. Whether or not you like that person, dislike that person, whatever. Having them in the room, if they know the rules, and to make sure people are following them, is not a bad thing, because no person is infallible. Not one of us. The closest I've met is me, and I know I make a lot of mistakes. Hey.
Just want to say I love your stuff.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're on Facebook channel and everything, and y'all always have gold. So
Oh, appreciate it. What's your name?
John.
John. Nice to meet you.
I
Matt.
try and share the love, like I don't know, having a lot of good friends and everything. So I'll just share some memes along the way.
Yeah.
No, thank you. That,
appreciate that.
We actually talked about that a little bit ago. We were saying, if you want to spread, you have to spread the message that we're sharing on Muddied Waters and that other people are sharing on their pages and their podcasts to people outside of the Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
And
I think, especially since like Republicans and Democrats do everything they can to keep. Oh, are y'all live?
yeah, right now.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. No,
No.
come on back. Come on. Fine.
No, you're here.
Fine.
You're
Just them, doing everything they can to keep like the voice of libertarians away from,
Yeah.
the common audience.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's our job to at least try and share it,
Push it out of our own
because it's so simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it is.
No,
It is.
It's beautiful. I sorry that I just shoved it in your face, but like this is exactly what we're talking about all day. It was like
This electric penis.
there you
That's
go,
what she
folks.
said.
Electric penis. So the faces of anyone walks up. But yeah, no, it's so incredibly important that we're doing that, and I appreciate it so much.
I don't know how well it's received, but
If it just plants one seed and 30 years later, if it causes a difference, like that's how we do it, right? One seed at a time, one post at a time, one meme at a time.
Right, exactly. As you start hooking them in with people going, you know what, qualified immunity has been a big talking point for over a year now.
Yeah,
there's only one political place that wants to
talk about it, let alone do
right.
something. Yeah,
But as you start going out and going, maybe these people shouldn't have qualified immunity, and they're going, yeah, you know what, that sounds right. They start looking into other things. And they're like, oh, they want me to have all of my gun rights, not just the gun rights that the Republicans want me to have, or none of them that the Democrats want me to have.
And it also helps on the individual level, right? So when I talk to somebody about healthcare, and I get them to see our side on like free market of actually like getting the government out of protecting all these things, big pharma, certificate of need laws, this, that, and the other, and then we go into another conversation, and they go, well, we don't agree here, and it's like that's fine, but at least here, let me show you why I'm consistent on my stance. It breaks down that barrier of defense that they already had of libertarians are just bad. They're like, we already have this commonality, we already have this unifying thing, and then they're willing to listen to it, and then we're able to sell that message, we're able to change them and convert them, and not convert them, we're bringing them to the truth, and I think that's incredible.
I mean, it's a tough mindset for some people that, not to force their opinion what's right for them on others.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, it was a little difficult for me coming to terms with that. Like, I know how to live my life, and, like, it works for me, it should work for everybody. So it was a little, it took a little getting used to.
Yeah. Little live and let live. Yeah. We got a message going on.
Okay, so we have we just had an announcement. They're going to be doing dessert, and then they're.
I don't have access to the Slack channel.
I don't either.
I don't have access to the Slack channel. You could talk to Kelsey.
My spot?
Wait. Oh, I don't know. Ask
Is
Kelsey.
you going to take over my spot? Sure, why not? Oh, okay. Security!
Is yours on?
It is on now.
Okay.
I keep turning it off whenever I pull it away.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, somebody was saying that they couldn't hear you.
They couldn't hear me? Can you guys hear me now? It looks like you can hear me now.
Let's see.
Test. Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
So, Spike and Tasha brought me
A big bag. What is that?
bag of health goods,
No.
services, and friendship, and love. And so I've got to go talk to
It's
them about how
s'mores?
to make sure I utilize
You
the
brought
love.
s'mores? That's
Sugar-free
amazing.
s'mores.
Good s'mores.
Good legal s'mores.
Sugar-free legal s'mores.
Those. Coca-Colas.
Man, if you got a bunch of Coke Zeros in there. If you've got if you got those in there, please hook those up.
I had to recover quick there.
It's just Coca-Colers.
Yeah, Coca-Colas.
Oh wow. I saw something.
Yeah,
I think they may have seen it too.
they did. Is that no? Okay, we're gonna put that right.
Doing this one-handed.
That's gonna be super loud. I bet we're gonna turn that all the way down. All right. I just basically wanted it so when I wanted to talk about Anchor.fm again.
Anchor.fm?
Anchor.fm. Anchor.fm.
Hey, what's the minimum viewership on Anchor.fm?
Actually, they just upped it.
Damn it.
Yeah, they just upped it. I don't remember what it is now. Always Coca-Cola. It is a South Carolina thing.
It is.
It's a South thing because you've got, I believe the Coke. I think Coke's from Atlanta.
Yeah.
I think Coke is from Atlanta.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But the good Coke's from Colombia.
Not many.
So if you are out there and you're saying, man, I really want quality content like this to be better. All you have to do is if you want, you can PayPal us. PayPal, Muddied Waters Media. Or you can head on over to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters/subscribe where you can sign up. And not only do you get exclusive content like the thing we recorded last night, the episode we recorded last night that we might release.
That thing.
That we could release, we'll find out. You also get access to certain speeches that Spike makes, or you might get access to special If you want exclusive content like that, you can get it there. Also, on Thursday, November 18th, starting at 8 p.m., you can have access to the very first Muddied Zoom, where Spike Cohen, myself, Jason won't be there. I don't know. What is the question? Oh, careful, you don't want to break that. HDMI cord? Got to move the table again.
But this upcoming 18th.
This coming 18th, we're going to be having the Muddy Zoom where you're going to be able to talk with Spike and me on Zoom if you are a subscriber. Check out the Muddy Zoom, or if you are a subscriber, you're going to be getting an email this week with a link for the Muddy Zoom, so that way you can participate. And if you want to be a member, if you want to be on this and you want to be able to talk to us and have all of your friends see it, hurry up and subscribe today. And then we are going to be doing the Muddy Zoom the second Thursday of every month from here on out.
And if you guys are sad that I'm not going to be there this Thursday,
he's going to a concert with his wife.
Yeah. But the future ones, I'll be there.
He's going to be there.
So use Spike and Matt as your test run. Get a good feel for it. And then I'll come in and it'll be a great time.
Right.
It'll be a gooder time.
Yes.
Gooder.
It's going to be a less grammatically accurate time.
Oh, it's going to be the goodest.
It's going to be the goodest. So again, thank you all for tuning in. Glad. What's the question?
I've got it.
Okay.
I'm not mature enough for this.
I know. These.
Sorry, we're running.
We're running lines.
Yeah, we're running wires while we're streaming with you guys. We love you guys, and so we're dedicated to the cause.
Right.
But we're also trying not to be unhelpful libertarians.
Exactly. We're voluntarily helping when we can.
Yes. So
right,
the Muddy
so
Zoom. So if you guys are not going to be a part of the Muddy Zoom, if you guys want to tune in, you guys will see how much of a good time it is. Right, being able to ask Spike and Matt questions without them being able to vet them. That's
true.
Phenomenal.
It's very true.
And you're literally in some ways their boss because you're paying them.
So they're kind of compelled to give you some kind of feedback. And
Now
so
remember,
just think of the devious things you could do.
you may not like the feedback.
That's true too.
It does not guarantee good feedback.
No, it does not. But if you can find fun ways to be devious with them, the challenge is on.
Right.
Just for this Thursday. But the future ones when I'm there, just be kind and kosher and healthy.
That's fine, because I'm his boss. So I can ask him those questions, and he has to answer.
He's going to record these and be like, all right, Jason.
All right, so it looks like we're getting the technical issues figured out. So I'm assuming that speeches are going to be happening very shortly. I'm assuming just a couple more minutes, so we're just going to
keep chatting it up.
So next week, do you have a show next week, or is it Liberty?
Next week will be the Liberty Roundtable.
Okay, so on Monday.
They are
not next
talking
week, Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
Monday.
So Monday they're going to be talking about criminal justice reform. So one of my favorite topics. So I'll be tuning in.
Right.
But they've got some good headlining people. I don't know if I'm allowed to say who they are.
I would imagine.
I will say that Larry Sharp is one of the confirmed guests.
Oh.
And so if you guys happen to like libertarianism, a great messenger for liberty, a guy that's well-rounded on criminal justice reform and really just the entire spectrum of what libertarianism touches, which is culture and society and everything, this is going to be a great conversation there. And you're going to be able to see him. If you guys haven't tuned into those Liberty Roundtables before, this is a good way to see people from across the political spectrum, not just libertarians coming talking about this. So you can see Larry Sharp not only give you the message of liberty, but sell it to people and see some hearts and minds change right in front of you.
Yeah. And you have Cajun Eskimo on Friday,
Right.
From Bias Diggers. What about your other show, Cajun Libertarian show on your own personal?
Yeah, so I'll be right after, I guess, Liberty Roundtable. I think that's at, 7 Eastern?
That's 7 Eastern.
Yep,
So
7 Eastern.
They'll be well done by the time I go live Monday. And then I'll just do my normal national news.
Okay.
Crazy
That's
stories
9:30
going on.
Eastern?
9:30 Eastern, yeah. Coming up on our 100th episode, actually.
Wow.
That's
Yeah, that's a
amazing.
big milestone right
Be
there.
right around Christmas. We hit 100 episodes.
Very
so,
cool.
We're trying to adjust, and it's been incredible. And then, of course, Wednesday after Spike, we'll do that as well.
Very cool. And then on Tuesday, you'll be able to see me and Spike Cohen on Muddied Waters Media doing Muddied Waters of Freedom. At 8 o'clock Eastern, 8-ish Eastern. Don't blame me, blame Spike.
I love me live. I love my wife. She
So
probably
at
does
8
that.
o'clock Eastern, you can tune in for me and Spike Cohen on the Muddy Waters of Freedom. And then on Wednesday, next Wednesday, there is...
I don't even know what this dessert is, but it's amazing.
It looks good. So...
Well, he read the notes.
Spike on until when he will go live. So, My Fellow Americans is going to be going live on Wednesday around 8:15. And I think he's going to be doing it from the Tobacco Road, Wake County Libertarian Party meeting. I'm not 100% sure because I don't understand the notes that are in the calendar. So I think that's what's going to be happening. So tune in for that. And then on Thursday, we are going to be having the Muddied Zoom. There's not going to be an episode of the Writer's Block because we're going to be doing the Muddied Zoom instead, 8 o'clock Eastern. And anybody can watch it. We're going to be streaming it live. If you want to join, again, anchor.fm/muddiedwaters/subscribe. And you can be a member of the Zoom. So, real quick, before Steve takes the mic, after everything that we've talked about today and everything that has been going on at this convention, what are you guys most excited about in the Libertarian Party in the future?
Well, I think you're seeing some of the, or at least I have witnessed some of the, a lot of the newer growing pains starting to subside with a lot, and you're seeing it play out in a lot of these conventions because when we first started hearing about it, a lot of it was toxic. You know, and the ones that I've been to, the events that I've been to, you're starting to see a maturation process take hold. That you had to work out the growing pains first to get to. And I think we're hitting a new season of maturity, and I think a lot of that has to do with the atmosphere of where our country's headed. Unity is the only option now, folks, because the tyranny is coming down fast and heavy, and so we've got to band together, and I think that's what we're seeing. That's the biggest, brightest future for me that I see.
Yeah, and I think with that maturation that you're talking about, it's so incredible because when we have people like Spike Cohen going out there and paving the way and being like, this is how you do good messaging, right? When you have workshops like what we had today, where we had Sarah Anderegg, where we had Kelsey Line, where we had Brian Scott Lambrecht coming out and just telling people exactly how to make an impact in the communities, right? Meet people where they are. And of course, Spike Cohen was on that workshop too. Meeting people where they are, being able to sell the good message and change things up, right? I see this as an opportunity if the Libertarian Party can listen to the messages being sold and actually replicate that, we have an opportunity now to sell this to millions of people. And the growth there is so... It's right at our fingertips, and so that's what I'm really excited about, is to see how the Libertarian Party takes what we're talking about today and implement it.
Yeah, I would have to agree with both of you. It sounds as though they are getting ready to start, so we are going to be switching over to their view. We're going to be switching over to their view. We're going to be switching over to their view. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Enjoy the show.
To kick off our evening event, we have somebody who I pretty much get a chance to see his name cross over my social media every day. Comes in from a posting or a comment or an appearance on Fox Business News, The Kennedy Show, where I think he's become a regular. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you our 2020 VP candidate, Spike Cohen. Avoid cords.
Thank you so much. I waited until he introduced me because they faked me out earlier when they were presenting the most Libertarian award, and it wasn't for me for some weird reason. So I remember 2 years ago, I was with y'all in Florence. And I was there as a member of Muddy Waters Media. Shout out to Muddy Waters Media, by the way. Everyone getting the restaurant. And I was there covering the event there. And I remember getting really excited about everything that went on. There was a great debate there and everything that was going on there. And I remember thinking, you know what? I think I might want to get involved. And long story short, I got involved. And... So some really interesting things happen. And by the way, this can be a relatively short speech. This is already eating into my very busy schedule of bullying federal agencies on social media. Yes, one comment at a time. Abolish the ATF. So last year, as you probably know, I was your vice presidential candidate, and we came in third. Great job, everyone. But I ran, and Joe and I went across the country and spread the message of liberty. And I think we did the best that we could to represent the movement and the message. And I will admit I was disappointed at the results. I knew we weren't going to win, but I was hoping we'd get more votes. But coming out of that and talking with a lot of people after the election, I was surprised that people still wanted me to come to things. So I have been to something like 35 or 40 events this year, most of them conventions, but many other events as well. And at the beginning of the year, I was giving speeches about what I call the culture of winning. I feel like, and I still talk about this, I felt like we have what started as a coping mechanism when this party was founded 50 years ago with people that knew that they weren't going to win any races. It started as that, and it ended up turning into a built-in culture of people that just kind of accepted that we were never going to win. And all of the rot within the movement that creates when people see this not as a challenge, but as sort of a already foregone conclusion. And I said all the things that I felt like we needed to do. We needed to run more local candidates. We needed to focus more locally. We needed to focus more on growing the culture and recognizing that politics is downstream of culture. And then y'all did a very interesting thing. You either listened or already knew that, and I wasn't the genius I thought I was, because some incredible stuff happened last year. First, in April, we had the special elections. And of the races that the Libertarian Party ran in, we won over 50%, I think 57% of those races, which is the best percentage-wise showing that we've ever had. Yes. And then I had a couple personal achievements later on in the year. I found out from the Libertarian Party of Kentucky, I found out about a situation where a city council was using eminent domain to basically steal a convalescent home for elderly, mentally disabled patients, and so that they could personally profit. They all owned the properties around it, and or I should allegedly personally profit. I don't want to impugn anyone's character, but it was just awful coincidence that they owned all the properties around. Yeah, I'm not impugning. It's probably a total coincidence. But so we went down there and we basically froze that action from happening, and we're in the process of stopping it entirely. And then a few months later, actually just a few weeks ago, I was invited to Manatee County, Florida, to speak about a so-called abortion ban bill, which was really no such thing. It was just a weaponized snitching bill. And I talked to them about how this really had nothing to do with abortion and that they were using this as a pretext to eliminate any semblance of constitutional limitations on government. And we killed that bill. It went from 3-3 with one person leaning in favor of it to 5-2 against. So we killed that as well. And then the election happened, and the Libertarian Party won over 150 races. In fact, the wins are still coming in because we have a lot of write-in races that we don't know yet, and it's looking like we have a final tally of close to 200 races, which is, by the way, a record for the party, over 50% of the races we were running in. Over 100 of those were in Pennsylvania, in one single state. So what then started happening when I saw what was going on there was I started going to all the different states and saying, whatever Pennsylvania's doing, do that too. Whatever it is. I know it's called the Molten Maneuver. I know a little bit about it. I don't know all the details, but do that too, whatever that is. Then I come here to South Carolina where I think I'm going to show up and I'm going to go, folks, I'm Spike Cohen and I'm such, Horry County, and I'm such a genius. I've come up with yet another thing you can do. It's called the Molten Maneuver. They named it after, well, I guess it's named after him, so it's his idea. And then it turns out you guys are already working on that. So I come here and I find out that you guys are already laying down the groundwork to be able to do exactly what they're doing in Pennsylvania, find uncontested and lightly contested elections and win them and show people what libertarian governance looks like. Long before they're ever going to trust us in the White House or in Congress or in the governor's mansion, they're going to need to see how our ideas work where it matters most, in our backyards.
Say it again.
In our backyards. Backyard. And they need to see that because it's great how our ideas sound, but they need to see that the Libertarian auditor found something wrong in the books that have been going on for years, and they put an end to it. And they associate libertarianism with good stewardship of the money that's being taken from them against their will. They need libertarians in school boards saying, no, we're not going to tell you how your kids are going to be taught. You need to decide that. We need libertarians as city council people and as mayors to show what a city or a county looks like when it's run by people who think that you do best when you're most free and that the power should be in your hands. When we do that, we win. And we're well on our way to doing that. And so that's why I've been very happy to see what South Carolina is doing. Now, with that said, there were some other things that happened. We saw the beginning of what looks like is going to be a red wave. And we've seen this pattern many times, right? The party in charge is screwing things up. And so people get frustrated with the party in charge, and they vote in the other party. And we know what comes next. Disappointment, right? I used to be a Republican. Who here used to be either a Republican or a Democrat at some point in their lives? Yeah, most of us, okay? We know what's next. We vote for them. We go, yes, finally, we won. Our team won. Team sports, yay. And then when they get into office, they go, we're not going to be able to do everything we said we were going to do because of the other party. And we go, oh, that party's terrible. We got to vote for our team again. Yay, we won again. Team sports, we won. And then they go, yeah, so it turns out the other party still exists. You got to just keep voting for us in perpetuity, even though you know you're not going to get what you want. The public is seeing that right now. And when we meet them where they are and show them there's a viable alternative, we win. And I don't mean we can win. I mean we are winning when we do that. So I am beyond happy to see what the South Carolina Libertarian Party is here. But there's still an aspect that's missing. And it's that we are still waiting for the Libertarian Party to lead the liberty movement. The Libertarian Party is a series of committees that is set up to comply with federal and state elections law. It is necessary. What we are doing here is 100% necessary to be able to field candidates, to be able to have ballot access, to be able to work on the political scale to get things done. It is not a tool for leading a movement. You are. When I say you are the power, what I mean is exactly that. You are the person that's going to lead your communities. The problem is, right now, at this moment, we don't have anyone providing that direction. We don't have an organization that is set up specifically to empower people to be leaders and activists in their community. But there will be soon. I'm starting an organization called You Are the Power, and it's going to be exactly that. If you want to lead in your community, we're going to give you all of the tools that you need to be able to do that. If you need to know the people that you can connect with on common causes to be able to affect change in your community, we'll have a directory of people that you can do that with. In the future, we'll have speakers and other leaders that will be more involved, people from other groups that will be more involved in it, and we're going to have more to talk about it in the coming weeks and months as we unroll it. But the long story short is all of the gaps that need to be filled are going to be filled, not just by this organization, but by you. And when we win, when liberty wins, when we live in a world where we can look back at the nightmare scenarios we're looking at right now, which frankly are only going to get worse until we fix them, we'll be able to look at that in the rearview mirror and talk to our children about what a terrible thing that was, but that we fixed it. Liberty is going to win, and when we win, it will be because of you. And you will be the people that they talk about, the remnant who looked at the odds and said, I don't care how outmanned or outgunned or outnumbered I am, I'm going to continue plowing ahead until liberty wins in my time, because the alternative to that is just shrugging my shoulders and saying, I guess this is how it's going to be for me and my children and their children and their children. And it was unacceptable to you. Just like it was unacceptable to any other revolutionary, just like it was unacceptable to those handful of people that got together in Luke Zell's living room 50 years ago in Colorado. We are the remnant that will win for liberty. I don't know about you, but I'm not here to make small changes on the margins. I am not here to make small reforms. I am here for nothing short of a revolution. Now, who's with me?
Thank you, Spike. We have, Spike talked about the Liberty Movement, which has many components of it. And